Many of the scientists, citizens, and nuclear energy advocates we've interviewed for our podcast, Nuclear Waste, The Whole Story, have a passion for protecting the environment. In honor of Earth Month, please enjoy this compilation of some of the inspiring things they said.
Just be afraid of climate change. If you want to be afraid of anything, the impacts of that are terrible. It is going to hit the global south hardest. It's going to be worse for them. Those regions will become too hot for humans to live in. I mean, this is how serious things are. But approaching it with a doomsday ideology where you just sort of say, oh, well, we're all doomed and, we should just go back to living these really basic lifestyles, that is not going to help them. And actually, we have this problem as well in these green groups in the West. Again, it comes from having this privilege for so long, where we then say, we're going to live in an apocalyptic nightmare. Our children are going to suffer in an apocalyptic way. 2 billion people already live in that apocalyptic nightmare. It's called poverty. They already live with that instability.
Okay, well, the world we're living in is experiencing really quite abnormal rates of warming of the whole world, and it's also experiencing an acidification of the oceans. They've become 30% more acid since industrialization started, and we're also seeing the effects, of course, in changing weather and in melting of ice on the onshore areas. And all of those effects come together as being caused by excess emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, overwhelmingly by people, of course. And those greenhouse gases are most topically carbon dioxide, derived from burning fossil coal, oil and gas, but also nitrogen oxides and also water vapor. But carbon dioxide and methane is the ones we can easily go after. And so carbon capture and storage is trying to say, well, we can carry on using fossil fuels, coal, gas and oil, and using that fossil carbon. But if we want to use that without damaging impact into the atmosphere, then we have to be able to use those and capture the carbon dioxide rather than just dumping that into the atmosphere as we do now.
But the primary focus of the tribes really work with the DOE on is making sure they're protective of the Snake River Plain Aquifer, which is the sole source aquifer in this region. One downside to that is the tribes don't have any regulatory oversight like the state does. Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, they regulate RCRA and other environmental regulations, and we're able to work with IDEQ and DOE and make sure that the information that they're collecting and providing is true and kind of give us assurances and confirmation that we're receiving the right information.
So we look at climate change. There are all sorts of issues. We've got an energy crisis at the moment. There are all sorts of resource issues. And we have lived in a society, particularly in the West, that makes very short-term decisions. It's driven by the next election. And so a lot of the things that we need to address, fundamental challenges that we face as a country, as a planet, as a species, need long-term thinking, and we need to start planning longer term. So nuclear waste for me is potentially the most difficult subject that we have to deal with.
On the legislative side, we'd love to see a really big increase in funding for the Office of Nuclear Energy, and particularly for more sort of mission-oriented R&D, so bringing the cost down for nuclear is a big one. But the big thing we want to see from Congress and from bills is this thing I mentioned earlier of integrating nuclear into climate bills. So we've had a lot of really exciting legislation passed in the last 5 years around advanced nuclear, but it's been very nuclear specific. So seeing a broader climate package, maybe with some compromises between renewables and nuclear and efficiency and electric vehicles and all that going into one thing, I think would be really powerful.